Who wants to do the same thing over and over and over again?
Not us.
Many, many, many times in a day. Not these guys.
Has there been another murder?
Actually...
Hit me with that unique rom-com sequel.
This is not a sequel.
Something I love about the show is just the versatility of all the different genres. So I'd love to know, which genre were you most excited to play coming into the season?
I think right out of the gate, the big one is doing this Jane Austen period piece.
This looks delicious.
That's potpourri.
Oh, bon appetit.
We know you're eating air freshener.
And it was a dream. It was already written that way. It was my character's episode. I felt so lucky. It's like it's a fantasy world to be in. And I think to be able to do it with like an all Asian family in like period garb, it was really special.
I was brought up on a strict diet of period drama back in the UK, and I've never had the opportunity to partake in one of those.
I feel at my core like a Jane Austen heroine, and it was good to finally be in the world where I belong.
It's just so fun to wear those costumes and figure out how your character exists in those worlds.
You know, it's asking the question of like, are we back in time, or is it just a style? And so we tried to make that clear. Like, there's a scene where they're having a very old-fashioned picnic, and then a helicopter lands. To just kind of make sure you're aware of like, we didn't time travel. This is just the tone and style that Grace tells her story in. But I think those kind of big swings were exciting to get to do in season 2.
I think this season I was most excited to play. I got to do Anik's episode. Also, like the first episode of the season is the rom-com sequel. I really like to play that because I love the large set pieces, the heightened reality of like the comedic things that happen. Everything goes wrong. Big physical comedy. I had a really great time doing that.
I have many tales to tell.
Actually, maybe they just start from the beginning of the wedding.
I'm a searcher.
Okay. I guess I would say just because I knew what it was going to involve my own, which is the epic romance. Sorry, that's for the cheap answer, but I was just excited to kind of do all the stuff that was going to be required in that episode. Because in addition to me having to do stuff like dance and all that, it involved going around the world, and I was kind of curious, how would we do all this? And Peter Atencio, our director, was incredibly economic and artistically brilliant at setting up these little vignettes, and I was just interested formally in how that would happen.
And for me also, it really was matching for my character Vivian to be in the 80s soap opera genre, which I felt, it's perfect. It's perfect.
I was most excited to see the noir type episode. I really like that genre of movies and stuff.
I just loved as an actor working in 2023, the opportunity to shoot something in black and white is just so foreign to me, and the camera movements and the costumes and the way everybody spoke, and it was all really quick, and everyone talked like this.
Yeah.
And they were using all these little catchphrases and like, hey, our monkey's uncle, like all this stuff that was so foreign to me, but yet I grew up loving the 30s, the black and white movies of the 30s. So, it was like Edward G. Robinson, and to have an opportunity to do that, it's just so rare. And to do it in a comedy, and it's not something really serious. Yes, there's a murder, but
there's murder.
But that was definitely, I think, my favorite. Just to play in that era.
Yeah, I loved that. I loved Hitchcock. I loved watching Paul Walter Hauser in film noir.
He was so
good.
What's your name? You fine as hell.
Sebastian. Travis.
I just thought it was hilarious the way Paul was just appearing out of nowhere, rolling around, falling everywhere. That physical comedy was so good, but so dramatic and I love that kind of stuff.
And I also love doing Hannah in that, and both of those characters are so ill-equipped to deal with anything practical or real. And so to put them in a super serious situation where you always know best. Like everyone's speaking as though they have the answer,
everybody
but they're
knows
saying the
something.
stupidest thing you've ever heard. Like I could watch that for days. So that was really fun. And then like trying to be sexual, you know, and I love
not
that.
knowing what I'm doing.
Yeah, and just hair getting stuck in my hands.
Yeah.
You know, the challenge of doing something with found footage where there's a part that is easier to shoot in terms of just the accessibility and we did it all on iPhones, you know, with on
a telephone.
Yeah. Well, you can't really shoot on a telephone. The telephone itself doesn't.
You said it was an iPhone.
I know, but iPhone is part phone, part I.
Edgar is a crumb, and Grace knows that I'm...
What's that?
Pretty handy with a broom. That was a broom.
That's how I can tell you've never swept before.
It's like a lightsaber.
I was most stoked about the Wes Anderson thing because I love his movies, so to see that come to life and just get to play a bit part in that episode, that was kind of a big deal for me. I was geeked up about that.
It's really kind of for people who are, you know, film nerds, to be able to like play around in all these different styles of storytelling is fun for us. As hard as it is to accomplish and as ambitious as it is to have a show where every episode feels like a totally unique movie and you have to do it with different lenses and different aspect ratios and different lighting packages and different costumes and different styles of acting. It's so hard to accomplish, but it's also just a real joy. Like there's no other show where you get an opportunity to do stuff like this.
But you know what I really like though?
What?
The food episode. I really like what you can do with food because you know food is a part of Food and Drug Administration, and if you eat the right foods and have the right activities going with it, it can create a lot of oxytocin, which is a drug.
Well, I think it's pretty clear.
That's
We've got
not
our guy. What did you say, you got or not?
Not.
What?